Good morning, good afternoon, and good night. Thank you guys for joining us in the video today on Auto Chess Mobile. Got a good game going on this one in a high Queen King lobby where I almost 3-star every single character. So we're going to get right into the action. I think I skipped through the initial minion rounds and kind of fast forward through this pretty quickly. Most of the time for these type of scenarios, you want to try, or at the beginning of the game, try to get a little bit of CC in there with damage champions. Of course, if you can go Goblin Mech, that's definitely going to be your best bet for the first, early rounds here. You'll notice whenever I roll initially that I get the God of War and Skybreaker pairs. So I actually think I end up locking this in 2 times, or So for the first 2 rounds, because I got the pair of Skybreakers and then the pair of God of War as well, and then I pick up the unicorn just in case I can get that extra gold, and I think it does end up paying off for me. Eventually I do get that extra gold from the unicorn, but you'll notice that it is a high king. I think there's even a queen in the lobby, and this is on the NA server, so we do pretty well rolling through with a kind of off meta build, incorporating the God of War in there. But as most feathered rounds go, you start off kind of slow, right? So I think the first few rounds I do end up losing. This guy has the Phantom Assassin, whatever it's called, the Demon Assassin, and it does quite a bit of damage alongside the Shadow Crawler, who gets a couple lucky crits there on the God of War. It might have been able to bring it back for me since it was 2-star, but the Shadow Crawler RNG was not in my favor. So getting quite a few feathered units here on this roll makes me think that I want to do some sort of feathered build. Committing this early to a build is kind of sketchy, but when you roll like that and you have druids like that this early, I don't necessarily feel uncomfortable committing to it. And then you'll see I periodically check the scoreboard as well to check and see what other kind of comps that the opponents are going, right? So that I can see if there's anybody else that's going to be contesting my druids or contesting the feathered units that I'm looking for. But again, just starting out kind of slow. I think, again, we lose the first couple rounds here, but then we get things rolling pretty quickly. And one of the things that I contemplate periodically throughout this whole game is the God of War and its kind of incorporation within the build. And I think it actually does quite a bit at the end of things, looking back and rewatching the video. I'm glad I didn't take it out. And there's actually an instance in the video where I do replace it and get pretty close to losing, I think, a win streak that I'm on. So we'll talk about that when we get there. But getting the 3 feathered early, really not that special. I think 3 feathered in the early rounds is not very strong compared to other things, but it is what it is. It's something that you can build into pretty easily, and if you do get those 2-star druid units, it definitely helps out. Now, one thing I do here with the God of War is just kind of position it off to the side. And it's not necessarily a bad thing. Sometimes it can kind of bite you in the ass, depending on the positioning of the opponent. But here it does a little bit of work on the side, keeps the Phantom Dancer, whatever her name is, Phantom Assassin, occupied pretty heavily, and then we get a nice little double kill from the Shining Ranger there. So pretty good. We're starting to win. You'll notice we get the unicorn here, the free gold. We'll get that instantly and then sell it and go back to that 1 cost unit, so we get that extra gold in there, which is kind of nice. And seeing the second God of War, I think I go ahead and pick that up. I'm like, well, I really don't know if I'm going to sell this or not. I'm thinking I probably will end up selling it, but at the end of the day, it doesn't waste any gold to go ahead and build that out. And if I get lucky and get 2 God of War in the next roll or what have you, then it's very likely that I can 3-star that type of unit. So I think we do lose here against the Assassins. Again, just getting some lucky RNG on the crits and things like that. But no big deal. We're still in a good position. We're going to start saving pretty quickly as well whenever we can get these core units kind of leveled up. Coming up here in a second, I actually recording this on my iPad. I got a message from my sister, so I think kind of fast forward through a couple of things, but you'll notice We get the 2-star druid here, which is really helpful. Any 2-star early obviously is gonna be beneficial. I've already got a pretty strong backline. A dwarf sniper early is definitely does a lot of damage. If you can get one of the wooden clubs on there for him to have some extra attack speed, it definitely helps. And then we even have the mana crystal on the Shining Archer, which does a pretty substantial amount of damage with his ultimate. We do get the 3-star mech here, or the 3-star goblin. I can't remember the name, whatever that one's called. With the mini stun, any kind of CC early, I think is really good. Maybe that's not necessarily true, but I think it does go a long way. The more shots you can get in without your opponent being able to retaliate when your HP is so little, definitely can swing it into your advantage. So that was just a golem round. We end up winning that. We do get the Orb of Regen off of it, which is kind of cool. Having that on the sniper is kind of nice again, just to have that mana regen for his ult. You'll see again, we do the unicorn trick here. I think we might even hold on to it until another unicorn is rolled, which is fine. I mean, just cycling through those unicorns definitely helps if you can afford it and you're not, really scarce on the economy. Getting that extra gold will help, build your economy faster and get you to that 50 gold threshold that you're looking for. So you notice here, kind of looking at the items, just debating whether I'm going to throw them onto the goblin ranger. I guess I end up doing that, and to be fair, it doesn't pay off really. I don't end up getting much of combination items on that dwarf sniper, but it remains there throughout the whole game. So don't be afraid to commit to those items early, especially if you know what build that you're going. Just putting them on your carries can tilt some of those matches that you might not necessarily win. So you'll see here, I check up on the opponents. It's always good to see where you're at when you're fighting the other, on the other end of things, so that you can see both sides and kind of rectify either your positioning or your build according to those other players and how they're building and how they're doing. You'll see here we get the Warpwood Sage, which is nice. I didn't really know what I wanted to do at first with the mech, but I think it was time to part ways with that, given how many 2-star units that we already had. And then we did get the Hunter synergy, which is really nice. So I positioned the God of War off to the side, hoping that my feathered units will take a majority of the damage, or miss a majority of the damage, if you will. The God of War does get positioned a little bit funky here, but the Shadow Crawler ends up turning on him, which is really nice, and kind of saves him a backline. So pretty easy for me to move forward through this round with a win. I've got about 18 gold, so we're really building up a pretty heavy economy early. The fact that we're at 88 health and we're almost over the 20 gold threshold, and we've got a pretty strong lineup, definitely helps. Now this is a great roll. The double assassin, the double shining ranger there. It's such a random champion. I think a lot of their ultimate is RNG. I don't really understand the way that it reads, but it can stun a unit for like 5 seconds. It's crazy, and you'll see it pay off in one of the rounds here in a little while. So really good to get that early. It does quite a bit of damage, and it's also a good unit in front of my other two hunters that do more damage, since it is feathered and it'll have more HP. It can kind of help tank some of those assassins and things like that. That will move forward. Now that I think about it, I actually should have probably switched its positioning with the Wind Ranger. That way the Wind Ranger took less damage, but we do end up winning this round anyways, and pretty substantially waste its ultimate here. Then again, just checking in on the opponent's scoreboard. I think this guy's actually on a win streak, and we end up ending that for him. Or no, I'm sorry. He was just up ahead of us in terms of HP. So a good roll here with the Wind Ranger becoming 2-star, and this is round 14. So we definitely got some good rolls in our favor early, and then again late, which you'll see, we 3-star almost everything, which is really great. So again, I'm contemplating that God of War. At the end of the day, if I want to sell it, I get the entire 3 gold back, so it doesn't hurt. I just pick it up. I'm like, fuck it. If I can get the 3-star God of War, that will definitely help tank for my hunters. And then I'm building up that Taboo Witcher down at the bottom as well, which would be really good whenever we want to transition to that 6 feathered, power spike. So we end up beating this. This guy's got a really early Frost Knight, 3-star. It doesn't seem to do much. I don't know if he's not incorporating Glacier in there. I guess he probably is, but he just doesn't get it, kicked off like he wanted to early. So we do end up winning. that round, but that guy becomes very, very strong towards the end, so, and you'll see that. So we get another Shining Archer here. I'm at 35 gold, so it doesn't hurt to go ahead and pick it up and maybe start building towards that 3-star Shining Archer. As you're saving, it is a neutral round as well, but I'm going to get 3 gold regardless, so I go ahead and pick it up. And we, of course, position correctly. With Hunter, you want to make sure you position right on the Wolfpack round, because they take out all of your Hunters. You don't do any damage, especially Feathered Hunters. Feathered Assassin, same thing. You got to be really careful with this round for those type of builds, but it does go well. We end up winning this and getting quite a few items from it as well. I can't remember exactly what we finished off, but really helpful items nonetheless. And I think the Warpwood Sage does a lot in the Wolfpack round with its ultimate, just providing heals, the necessary heals for us to tank through it. And then, of course, the God of War, I think, had 3 of them on there, so that was really good. I'm still debating, and I finally pick up that Shining Archer. So since it's there, I finally look at my gold. I'm like, okay, we need to go ahead and do that. And now we get the 2-star Taboo Witcher, so we can really start building towards that 6-feathered power spike. To be fair, it's not as important in Hunter as it is with your Assassins, because your Assassins are diving and they need to be able to tank some of that damage. But I say screw it. I've got the what is this item? Whatever that item's called. I have that, and I need to put it on something that doesn't get silenced. So I go ahead, get the 2-star on it. I roll in order to place it on the field, because that'll be a nice amount of damage with the lifesteal item. And I couldn't really put that on any of my Hunters since they all have abilities. We do end up winning this round as well. 2-star Swordsman this early, quote unquote, is kind of scary, but we do have enough frontline to handle it. Anytime there's a 2-star Swordman, it can do a lot of damage to your backline if it gets in there. So we do end up killing it before it can ult all 3 of our Hunters, which is really nice. And then moving into the next round, finding another 2 Shining Archers in one go, which is the second time this game that I've gotten 2 Shining Archers in one roll. So we do have 2 of those 2-star units now. We're definitely going to get this to 3-star. That'll be quite a bit of a power jump. And you'll notice at some point I picked up that Shining Mage over here. I'm considering maybe going 9 feathered, since I have quite a few feathered units out there. I could even get to level 10 and keep my God of War and have 9 feathered plus God of War with my Hunter backline. I mean, I would I would roll over anyone. And in hindsight, maybe that was the right move, right? Because you'll see what ends up happening at the end. But definitely have enough of a front line, I think, to continue with what I've got. So looking at the opponent that I'm fighting, he does have some sort of dragon build going, and it doesn't end up beating me. That's actually the Queen player. So I was curious as to how they were doing what they were building. And they do end up going into late game with their Knight Dragon combo build, but it does beat me there. So we roll well here. I think we end up picking up both of these again because we're at 45 gold. It doesn't hurt. We're not going to get penalized. You could always consider selling things to get above 50 gold, but a lot of times that's not going to be worth it because what's on your bench is there for a reason. And then I'm like, okay, we are level 7. What if we keep this Goblin Archer? We throw in the Shining Mage and we get the 6 feathered status, right? I'm thinking that's going to be a good idea. It's going to be a power spike. No one's going to be able to hit our front line. We get pretty bad RNG. The Sage goes down early, and this guy's got a Doom who's just punching everyone for a lot of damage. We end up getting really close to dying, and you'll see here where that Shining Archer ultimate really RNG-wise comes into play. So the Siren gets a nice ult. Definitely going to 1v2 us here, but then this Shining Archer ultimate will place her stunned in place for enough time for the Wind Ranger to finish it off. So we do end up winning that round, keeping our streak. I think we're over 10 rounds at this point, which is really helping build our economy. And in Feathered, if you've got a good economy and you can keep rolling and leveling, it's really going to go a long way because you can get those 3-star druids pretty easily. So we want to stay over 50 gold. We're going into the neutral round after this. I'm like, okay, that was way too close. I'm going to take this 1-star Shining Mage out of this, and I'll put the God of War back in. That way we have more beefy front line. And I think it pays off. No, wait. I think we do end up losing this round actually because the Frost Knight is pretty powerful, and this guy's got quite a bit of damage on his the one that bounces. I don't know, whatever that one's called, or maybe that's a little ways down the way. I don't know. Perhaps we do end up winning this one. But I've got the mana item on the archer, which is really helpful. It gets that ultimate off. You can see he's doing quite a bit of damage, almost 4,000 in the round 19, and that does put us on that 10 win streak, which is a lot of gold rolling in. I'm glad we didn't win that round. I don't know why I thought otherwise, but we do end up losing our streak, I think, to that guy. So I'm just probably getting it confused with another round. But we get our Taboo Witcher here. And I just roll once, level up, and then I'm still at 60 gold, and it made room for the Taboo Witcher, which I'm trying to get the rank 3. Rank 3, anything is good, so why not? And I just get the lucky roll on the Shining Mage. So just skipping through the Ursa round, we easily defeat that, and we end up rolling another Taboo Witcher, so definitely pays off. And notice we're at 70 gold. I actually ended the neutral round at 60 gold. And having 70 gave us enough to roll all the way to level 8 without dipping below 50 gold. So our economy is looking really, really great. We're a higher level than the majority of the players in the game. We're still on fire. We're still on that win streak, and we're doing really well. So I positioned the mage correctly so that from the corner it can shoot people. That way it hits more than one. And we do have that 6 feathered bonus right now. So even when these assassins roll up, they start trying to kill everybody off. Eventually that's not going to really do much because they're just going to keep missing over and over. They do get lucky RNG here a couple of times with the crits, and they don't miss very much on the Shining Archer, which is unfortunate. And I do end up dropping to this guy. So we do a little bit of BM with the sad face, and we do end up dropping our win streak. But no big deal. Already over 50 gold. It doesn't really matter, and we pick up another God of War. So you'll see I'm pretty committed to building this to 3 stars. It doesn't a lot of the times make sense in a feathered build to just throw in a God of War, but you want to keep your backline healthy. You want to keep everyone dishing out damage. A 3-star God of War is going to absorb a lot of that from the enemy. So going into this round, I roll really, really well here. We end up picking up the 3-star God of War, and then we're also almost to the 3-star Taboo Witcher, which is really great. I don't think there's anyone else in the game going God of War. There wasn't any like mages going God of War. There was this guy, but he was like dragon mages and human build or something. So it was cool. It was different, and I think it did okay for him, but it definitely didn't beat my feathered hunter very consistently. This guy's just dishing out a lot of damage, so I think he does take the round here, but not for very many rounds moving forward. So still looking good. Still at 45 gold. We're coming up on the neutral round again. I think I probably ignore this Shining Dragon. I roll once, and we do get the 3-star Taboo Witcher, which is helpful. We throw it down at the bottom near our hunters. That way, if we do get jumped by that assassin character again, we know they're lurking in there. We know they're probably going to be our hunters with the way that our formation is. Our formation works really well for other kind of comps, but for assassins, you're pretty much leaving your backline open. So I dropped this guy back there just in case you get the chance that they jump on him instead. It does end up moving forward, so it doesn't really do much for me, but this is not the assassin guy we were worried about. This is a little bit weaker individual. I think there was 2 people going assassin, and this guy was not very fed. So we were able to beat him pretty substantially. And at this point, I'm dishing out a lot of damage, right? I've got 3-star units. Yeah, that actually took that guy out of the game. He is now defeated and no longer in it. So I'm rolling up on a lot of 3-star units. I know I have druids in my back pocket as well, which if we start rolling is going to level up pretty quickly. This is actually a really great combination of rolls. So we get the strange egg, and we get the dwarf sniper, which is really helpful. That tier 2 dwarf sniper goes a long way. And you'll notice I'm at 49 gold going into almost the neutral round. So I always like to stay over 50 or stay consistently at 50 or roll really heavily before the neutral rounds. That way you can use it to build your economy back up. Otherwise, if you're in a good position like I am here, you just want to try to stay over 50 if you can. Didn't have anything that I wanted to part with in terms of selling. I want to try to level up those archers and of course the druids. So I just stay at 49 gold and miss out on that one. Don't get too carried away, getting from 49, 48 to 50. Sometimes, you need those units and you can't sell them. So staying at 49 is acceptable. It is what it is. And just checking my items here on the Dwarf Sniper, still just those 2 basic items. I really haven't done much leveling there. Haven't really gotten much item RNG on that sense. But I think my Wind Ranger does still have that orb. Not orb of refresh, but the component of it. The pink sphere item. I don't remember what it's called. But which helps quite a bit with this mana regen. So we start rolling here. We do get the Razor Claw. Definitely going to need that. And the Unicorn in one. And then I get the Sage. And I'm like, well, here I am. I might as well keep going. The Archer is really helpful. We're going to place it down just so that it doesn't take spot on our bench. That way we can sell it if we need to. Because getting that to tier 3 is not going to be as important as getting our frontline Warpwood Sage, etc. to tier 3. So we do get the Sage pickup, which is really nice. And notice I did that into a neutral round. I don't typically like to roll down before the neutral round, but I did want to try to free up some bench space so that I could keep that Archer, and it worked out. I just got lucky. So we get a nice Magicka staff roll. Put that on the mage that does a lot of consistent ultimates. I think it's like 5-second cooldown on that guy. And then we get a really good combination of rolls here. Starts rough with a whole bunch of nothing, but we get an egg right away, and then we get another egg, and we 3-star the Archer. So really, really great rolls. 3-star this guy as well, and then I'm like, well, I'm at 15. I think I'm going to hold off. I've got 2 eggs so that I can bump this Razor Claw as soon as I get another one, right? If I get another Razor Claw, I can egg both of them, and then I have a tier 3 Razor Claw. So let's keep both of these eggs. Let's keep the Razor Claw. We stay at level 8, and let's work towards level 9. And that way, when I get this 3-star Razor Claw, I can play him. So you'll see against the other Hunter build, we do really well. We've already got some very beefy units in the front with the 3 stars. And we're at round 26, so we're rolling really well, and it definitely helps. Get you to the position of winning the game. And once we finally make it to the next round, I think I do end up saving for quite a few, and we might even get to the neutral round saving. That way I can roll up to level 9 and play this giant Razor Claw. One thing that I like to do as well, you'll see I keep that Archer in the bottom right. That way if I ever do roll the components of the Orb of Refresh, I'll actually not worry about getting that to tier 3. I will sell it, put in the other 2-star, and take the orb away and give it to the Razor Claw. Having a Razor Claw with Orb of Refresh to throw down 2 level 3 pandas is just extremely overpowered. So I'll do that from time to time, or if I can hold out on playing the orb, of course I'll try to do that as well. But the guy that beat us earlier, we do end up winning here against his assassins, which is really great. So there's not very many comps in the game right now that can beat me. The Queen guy with the Dragon build has 1 HP. I think he was the only other one that beat us, and it was just barely, but with 1 unit. So I'm not too worried about him. If we do make it to him, well, so be it. Otherwise, he'd probably get knocked out. So we do roll down just a little bit here, trying to get that Razor Claw, but I try to keep my economy high because, again, we're getting closer to a neutral round, and I want to try to build back over 50 if I can. I'm still at 73 HP. I'm not on any winning streaks or anything because of that recent game against the Knights. I think I'm maybe getting a gold extra if I win this one. But this guy is the problem child, right? He's got this Knight build, and he got a lot of our item RNG in this Knight build. And the same guy that had the 3-star Frost Knight level 19, or round 19, sorry. So he does a lot of damage at this point. And like I said, he's going to end up being a problem for us. But we do beat him here, which is really great. And puts us in a position to get back on a win streak. So we are getting that extra 2 gold. And we finally rolled the Razor Claw. So nice little trick. You definitely don't want to level this up. You just want to drag it to your bench. And then you want to use an egg on each one. Again, I got lucky egg RNG. I think I got 2 or 3 or maybe even 4 eggs in this game, which is pretty crazy. So we use one on one and one on the other. It would be 2 2-star Razor Claws, and then rank that up to a 3-star. And it's just going to sit here for a while. I'm trying to get to level 9 so that I can use that. I want to keep my 6 feathered synergy, and I definitely want to keep my Hunter. The only other thing I would take out would be the God of War, but that's going to be substantially more tanky than this Razor Claw. So we'll hold it. It's going to be there for us. We're still at 73 hit points, and we're still pretty much beating every composition, even this Hunter build. Even this Knight build, right? Even though I think this is the round I was talking about where we end up losing. So off of our win streak, no big deal. But you can see here he's getting pretty strong. He's got that 3-star feathered Knight, and you'll see its items later. It gets pretty funny, to say the least. All right, and then going into neutral round. I don't know what I'm doing here. I don't think I'm considering rolling or doing anything because it's a neutral round. So I'm just going to hold off on doing anything and fight the Thunderhide, and hopefully the God of War will absorb the majority of that damage. And I think we do get some pretty nice items here from the Thunderhide as well, which helps. I think there were some defensive items, but you'll see we had the shield item that we placed down, which helps the front line stay alive, and the front line is really important in these type of hunter builds. Now the Dragon Axe, I wish we could have played that with the HP orb, because that gives so much damn HP regeneration, but I just didn't have one, so I think I play it on the Warpwood Sage, which is fine. I mean, combined with his ultimate, if he's like, one-on-one with somebody, he's going to win that battle every time. So, I'll go ahead and give it to the beefier unit. Still have the Strange Egg and the Dwarf. So I think that's the 4th Strange Egg or something like that this game, which is pretty nuts. Oh, excuse my animals. All right, and then coming back down to this Assassin guy, his Abyssal Crawler is tier 3, so I know I'm in trouble. Do not win this round. I think the Abyssal Crawler carries it for him, which is the way it goes with Abyssal Crawler, and he does have a 3-star Shadow Assassin as well, so you'll see that 1665 damage crit. That'll definitely one-shot quite a few champions here, so we do end up losing that round, but taking a peek over at Benny's screen, that's the Knight. I think we lose there as well. So I'm in a position where I've got 40 gold. I think it's time at this point, since we're losing, to roll this down and put in this Razor Claw. And I think that's what I do. If not this round, maybe next round I do it. I might save again this round just to get me over 60 gold. And then it's not as substantial as an impact whenever I go to roll down for that Razor Claw. And I'm at 65 HP, so I'm not going anywhere. We're double checking items, making sure we didn't make any mistakes. Everything looks good, and we do hold off on doing that roll. We get a little bit better positioning here for the Knights. I'm sorry, for the Hunters. Just given what we're up against, having it pulled back a little bit further doesn't hurt. We're not going against any other God of Wars which can do AoE damage. If you're close to your front line and that kind of thing. So we just kind of position a little bit friendlier for my Hunters so that the frontline can absorb a little more damage, and it does pay off for us against this other hunter build. To be fair, I don't think this guy is giving me a hard time. The other assassin person that beat us just recently went out, so the only guy left really that is troubling is the Knight player. And I'm debating here, am I going to go below 50 gold? Am I just going to roll a few times? What do I want to do? I'm still at 65 health. So there's quite a few things to consider. I'm also pretty close to a 3-star Wind Ranger, which can do a lot of damage with his ultimate. So I decided to keep my economy strong and stay over 50 gold, especially since the guy beating me is at 0 gold. And I know that he's going to take a while to rebuild that economy. So this might give me a little bit of an advantage. Maybe I can make it to level 9, level 10 before him, and knock him out or get that advantage with that extra unit, because he does seem to be beating me pretty easily here with that. I can't remember the name of the feathered Knight, but he does seem to be beating me pretty heavily with that. There's a lot of damage when you get the lifesteal attack speed item on that feathered Knight. It can really do a lot and pretty much kill your whole team, and that's what it does, over and over again. So if you have that type of build, the way to win with Knights and Glacier is to put your offensive items on that Knight, feathered Knight carry. So we do end up putting in the Razor Claw here. We're at 46 gold, still a strong economy, and now we're going to have an entire 2 more 3-star units for the front line. I'm not worried about this guy, Lemoyne. I think the only way that he's going to beat me is if he gets a really good Siren ult into, or vice versa, into the Pirate Captain. But he doesn't, so we're fine. So nice little win there. I don't know if we check the other screen. It looks like he does beat us, of course, because he keeps his 5-win streak. So we are fully aware that this guy is beating us for the knight opponent. And so I want to start rolling, trying to pick up some of these 3-star units. I do have an egg, which can obviously help 3-star unit pretty easily if you can get to where you need to be. Realizing that it's a neutral round, I stopped rolling because I do that mistake sometimes where I just keep going, not realizing that it's round 35 and I can get free gold out of it. So I did luckily catch that and stop rolling so that we have more economy in the next round. So moving into round 36, it's pretty important that you start 3-starring units here or looking into those legendary units as well. So you'll see I pick up the helicopter. I'm like, well, this is a pretty strong ultimate. Maybe it can help melt down some of those shields on the on the king. On the knight build. But I also get the Tsunami Stalker, which is a hunter, and it has a CC, which can be very helpful. The more hits you can get on your opponent as a hunter, the better. And for these knights, if they're CC'd, they can't really use their shield. So if you can get the dwarf sniper or something to finish off a imperative unit, then it does really go a long way. But notice these shurikens just bouncing back and forth, how much damage it's shredding from my backline because it can go from each of those units. And this guy just does so much. He ends up cleaning up the fight pretty easily at the end. But I'm not taking a lot of damage, which is really good. Now, of course, I get this helicopter after I sold it last round, and I could have egged it and rolled to level 10, which would have helped, I think, it do a lot of damage, but it probably wouldn't have been enough anyways. So either way, we stick to that Tsunami Stalker. We do have that staff that we picked up, I think, from a dead player or something like that, and we throw it on the Wind Ranger, which maybe will help anything that we can get, right? Now, still utilizing this Dragon Blood Axe. At this point, I'm just like, what could I do to get an advantage to jump back to kill that feathered knight? He does so much damage. We need somebody to go back and kill him in the backline. Otherwise, it's just going to kill my entire team. And so I try to do some positioning. It doesn't really work out. I don't think I end up doing any damage to it, but it definitely doesn't hurt to try. Positioning is really important, and for those type of builds where you've got one major carry, if you can get a unit back there to do damage to it, take its mind off of the rest of the battle or kill it, that can really go a long way. Because if you kill everyone else and it's 10 people versus 1, you can do enough damage to kill it before it kills your entire team. But like you saw in the last round, if you leave it until last, and it can just clean up all of your carries, it does it pretty easily and quickly. So we get into a pretty good battle with this guy. Again, my economy is way stronger, but he is on a win streak, and that extra 3 gold that he's getting is going to help him quite a bit. But I'm still sitting at 40 gold. I'm still at 48 hit points. So I could potentially roll to level 10, put in this Tsunami Stalker. Maybe that will flip it into my favor. Maybe that extra bit of CC. That's kind of what I'm thinking is maybe what I need. End up putting this lemon guy at 1 hit point. Kind of annoying, but for whatever reason he has like 80 gold. I don't know what he's got going on. I'm not sure if he uses it all here or if he just went AFK because he knew that he was going to lose. But I think he does just quit. But he was losing to both of us pretty easily, so I guess that's why he decided to end the game early. Either way, we get to a pretty substantial one-on-one with this Benny guy, but we do get a couple of additional 3-star units. So at this point, we've pretty much got our final 3-star configuration, if you will. We've rolled pretty well. We've got the 3-star Ranger, we've got the 3-star Feathered Mage, and of course the 3-star Frontline all the way around. The only thing that could have potentially made this game better would have been an Orb of Refresh on the Razor Claw, and we would have had just one more additional front line unit. But at the end of the day, the Benny guy with his Feathered Knight did so much damage, I don't think it really would have mattered. So this other Hunter build, it does end up beating me, but he goes out to the other guy, so it doesn't really matter. Now it's just a 1v1, and we go back and forth with this guy for, I don't know, about 10 minutes, quite a few rounds. I think we get to the beast thing, the Nian beast, or whatever it's called, and then it's like a couple rounds after that. But pretty great battle, back and forth, and you know, his Lightblade Knight does, oh, that's the name of it, there we go, I finally thought of it. It does all the damage for him, really. He built this really well in order to win late, and it worked out for him. You know, he got very lucky with his items, and it goes a long way, especially in game whenever you have those 3-star units in the front. Having it in the back to do damage definitely helps as well. And that's one thing too, we never get the 3-star Dwarf Sniper in this game. I'm not sure if it would have made a difference at all, but I feel like it would have helped a lot, because the prioritization of low targets and things like that, it does a lot of damage, and it does priority damage as well. So again, that Archer, Shining Archer ultimate coming in clutch here, that guy would have definitely cleaned up the rest of my Hunters, but the Archer ultimate did stun it, so that was really helpful. And then we do get the attack speed increase on the Dwarf Sniper. So again, if we were able to 3-star this guy, would have been pretty great. I think if we would have completed some of those items earlier as well, we would have probably snowballed quite a bit harder. We snowballed pretty hard, don't get me wrong, but the items on the Dwarf Sniper really go a long way. So you'll see here, just kind of throwing those out where I can. We've got the 3-star Archer there, so we might as well do that. And then we get the Unicorn to rank up and sell for the extra gold. Even late game, doesn't hurt to do that. We've still got really strong economy against our opponent here, but again, he's doing a lot of damage with that Lightblade Knight. So you'll see it roll through, bounce off of my guys quite a few times, and he just kind of cleans up pretty easily. I think if we were able to 3-star everything, like get the 3-star Wind Ranger, get the 3-star Goblin Ranger, maybe we would have done more, gotten closer to winning. But as soon as a couple of those shurikens bounce off of my backline, you know, they're taking out chunks of their HP. So we do roll up to level 10. We throw in the Tsunami Stalker, like, hey, maybe this extra CC will help. I don't think it does anything. He ends up rolling to level 10 as well. And one thing I didn't realize initially is that he didn't have six. He didn't have the 6 Knight synergy for quite a while at the beginning, and he just ends up getting it, and then he just rolls over my entire team pretty easily. So once that happens, it's GG. But keep in mind, this is a high king queen lobby, right? We had the queen in there, and king 3, etc. So it was really high ranked players, and this guy rolled really well. He did itemize really well as well in order to win that late game. So getting into the final bit here, I think we do end up rolling to try to find this Wind Ranger. We do have the egg still, which is kind of funny. I'm just trying to find this Wind Ranger so that I can get it to 3-star, but we roll all the way to 0 with no luck. Okay, so from here, I'm really just trying to figure out what I'm going to do to win this and get the guy's Lightblade Knight, since it's doing so much damage. The Tsunami Stalker really doesn't seem to be helping me too much. So I mean, the CC is nice, but it's just not pushing me to the point where I'm winning the match. And it's obviously not doing any damage, only about 500 damage. So back to the drawing board on that. I still have the egg in my inventory, so I think I actually find a double Siren in one roll, and I just decided to pick that up, egg it, and see if that ultimate will help. And it does help a little bit, but this guy ultimately is still a little bit strong. But you'll see we're slowly getting dwindled down, and I'm not at very much gold at this point. So I do find the 2 Sirens. I've not found the second Tsunami Stalker. I think I just go ahead and egg this, so that we can have an even stronger backline, which is helpful. I think it would have gone a long way if we had a mana item for the Siren so that it could get its ult off earlier. Because you'll see the first couple rounds, it does get the ult off pretty quickly, but then you end up, it ends up affecting it. You know, in the later rounds, it ends up ulting too late. So this gets pretty close. I do have to actually end up selling off one of like the dwarfs and the Wind Ranger or something to get that Siren, and I could have ended up 3-starring the Wind Ranger the next round. So it's just little things like that that get irritating in this game, but I swear there's some sort of component of the programming when you sell a character that it pops up the next round, because it happens every single time to me. But we do win on our screen. First win against that guy in a while. Unfortunately, we don't win on his screen, so we're still going. He's still on fire or on a winning streak or what have you. Gaining that extra 3 gold in the end rounds here is definitely helping him out. But we position our Siren a little bit better, more back in the back of the pack here. And I think ultimately that I should have kept it up front. That way it can ult sooner and freeze more characters when I have more damage alive. But I don't, at the end of the day, think that it would have won me the game. Don't make it to this round often. The Nian Beast or Nian Beast, however you say it, pretty important that you have a beefy front line, or you're just not going to really do much here. But I've got enough stuns and CC to lock it down, so I don't even think it kills a single character. And that's just the combination of the Archer stun and the Siren frozen, what do you call it, stone ultimate, if you will. And then we get another Dragon Blood Axe. So now this is the second Dragon Blood Axe. I have one on the Warpwood Sage. I think I just threw this one onto the God of War to give it that extra bit of regen. You know, may or may not have been the right move, but you know, regen on that God of War isn't going to hurt. Definitely helps keep it alive. So getting quite a few legendary pieces. I don't decide to pick any of them up. Finally get another Dwarf Sniper. And at this point, I've got the Dwarf Sniper, two 2-star Dwarf Snipers and 2 2-star Wind Rangers. And I would like to level them to 3-star, but I don't have any gold, and I'm at 12 HP, so it's very unlikely that's going to happen. But notice the Light Blade Knight and how much damage it's actually doing. Even when it goes to attack the little tree minion, since it's, you know, ricocheting off of all of the other players, all the other pieces, it's still just doing massive amounts of damage here. So it's going to take this round. And then I pretty much know that I'm screwed, and I do some last-ditch effort rolling for the Wind Ranger or for the Dwarf Sniper. I don't find either one, of course. So at this point, I know that it's GG. I think I give him a little sad face message in the chat, and he built it really well. We do try to position differently on the last round here, just to see if it will make a difference. Generally, when you have hunters, you want to put all of your front line in just in front of them in order to take or absorb all of the damage. But I spread them out to maybe get that God of War closer to the side. That way we can group them up, and the Siren ultimate will freeze all of them, and you know, maybe the Wind Ranger will come in with his ult and clean them up or something, you know. So just trying to get lucky. Doesn't really do much. It's pretty much the same thing where he takes down the God of War and then cleans up the rest of the people with the Light Blade Knight. So a really good game. Really, see some of the items on the Light Blade Knight at this point. Just tons of attack speed and damage. So you can see how that carries him through the entire game. But rank 2 in a Queen High King lobby, definitely a good move there. So GG, and thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and we'll see you in the next one. Oh, one last thing, if you have any recommendations on video content quality or any feedback for me, this is my first auto chess video, so feel free to leave your feedback. Thanks.